So since we live in a consumerism world, and this consumerism causes us to believe that self-love is gained through consuming the opinions of what people think self-love really is. And some of us think self-love has everything to do with positive affirmations, doing mirror work, being aware of your negative self-talk and changing that to something positive. Yes, that is part of the self-love journey. But what if I told you, in order to really love yourself, it requires pure honesty in order to live an authentic life where not only you feel proud of, but where you feel safe in, just to follow your own belief system. When we stumble upon our spiritual journey and we start to become aware of the things that no longer serve us, that we need to heal from, we start to realize how codependent we are on certain things. And these 3 things I'm going to talk about today is what majority of the world is very codependent on. So today you're going to understand why you're codependent on these certain things, how to navigate through this energy to finally get the relief that you've been seeking, the relief of having love for yourself and self-reliance. Going beautiful beings. Welcome back, AwakenOnes, on another episode on Embracing Ascension series with your homegirl Brittany Fontanez. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm outside getting some vitamin D, so you better get that vitamin D too. On this channel, I'm an intuitive shaman, healer, and reader. If you're new to this channel, so welcome. My name is Brittany Fontanez, and on this channel I speak about spirituality with compassion, emotional awareness with love. I do guided readings for each zodiac sign, and I talk about things I feel need to be talked about because they're a divine right to know more than what we have been told. And if you're needing assistance on your awakening, on your healing, on your shadow work, on your ascension process, I do have a new Awakening Prophecy Healing course. All the information down in the description box below, as well as the information for my business inquiries if you want to book your own personal reading or healing session. But other than that, you beautiful beings, if you enjoy spending your time with me here today and you get insight on what I share with you today, I'll greatly appreciate if you hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and hit that notification button so you won't miss out on any videos. But beautiful motherfucking Awakened ones, let's get into this. So when this idea stumbled into my head, my heart was like, yes, we got to speak about this bitch. And this is what we're going to understand why we are so codependent. Like I said in the beginning, we live in a world full of consumerism. And because this world, we have a mindset of consumerism, we're always seeking to exude power from things outside of us in order to fill up our own cup. Hence, really, I like to consider it the toxic way to fill your void. But I want to explain to you, do not, and I mean do not, judge yourself. If you feel like you're clingy, if you feel like you're codependent, even if you feel like, understand, like, if you're in those dynamics where you're codependent or that person's a narcissist or someone called you a narcissist and they're codependent, whatever the dynamic you went through that's caused you to be addicted or obsessed with leaning on something that gave you a source of comfort, do not judge yourself. It's very important to understand on your journey in this life, in order to make any changes where they are positive, you can't judge yourself for your unconscious ways. We all, and I mean every single person on this planet, has a codependency. I don't care if they say they don't, they lying. They lying. Because we all have been embedded with this paradigm of consumerism. And this is where we can get so occupied with bypassing actual self-love. And this is where we're going to get into understanding that real self-love requires pure honesty. The toxic false way of self-love requires you to bypass the discomfort that you are feeling. I'm here to share with you that in order to really live an authentic life where you're in tune with your spirit and you are actually in tune with the universe, it requires you to be honest and not bypass shit. People who are on this journey, like for me, for example, don't get me wrong, when I had my spiritual awakening and I started, my spiritual journey, I was full of my spiritual ego. To the point I was codependent, to the point I did have narcissistic tendencies and characteristics, to the point that I was so bogged down by emotional baggage. And because of this, I walked around life kept recycling trauma and trauma through every person that I met, and including to myself, to the point that I was even causing my own misery, and I was causing the misery of other people, to the point that I was not even aware of me bringing more damage to my life than actual good. But since I started to realize this, started to become aware, being on this spiritual journey, it requires authenticity. Do you know why people in the spiritual community say people who believe in religion fear hell, and people who believe in spirituality have been to hell? It's because it's true. It's true. People, I'm not talking about religion, but people who choose to go down the rabbit hole of what makes up their being, even if they like it or not, even if it scares them or not, the people who are willing to go down that rabbit hole are the people who are willing to do the nitty-gritty work, to have the courage to be the example upon this planet, to help be the inspiration or the actual change that people seek, that they need help with. So meaning that, I'm gonna be motherfucking honest. To be a real light worker, a shadow worker, a healer, a lover, a person who actually sticks to the word, it requires you to see the parts of yourself that you neglect to. We all have shadows, we all have imperfections. But the beautiful thing is not to judge these imperfections that make up your perfection. That's why they usually say your strengths are usually weaknesses, and your weaknesses are usually your strengths. It's some crazy shit. It's very paradoxical up in this universe, but you gotta love it because it makes up who you is. But other than that, you guys, I want to get into the three main things of why we are codependent on these three things in this world. And I believe 99% of everyone in this world has gone through these codependencies themselves. And while I go through these, I'm going to share with you my experience as well, so you get a gist and understanding how you can start navigating to become the healer of your life, and also to start releasing these emotional baggages that are causing you to suffer continuously, to the point that you're not realizing that you're making it an option to suffer. I know that shit's so crazy. This is how unconscious we are, but this is why I tell you, do not judge yourself by being unconscious, because you can't change what you're not aware of. But once you become aware of it, yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow, to see that you have been the only person holding yourself back. That's why a lot of people don't want to see the bullshit. That's why people would like the truth, but they don't actually seek it, because the truth pisses you off first before it sets you free. So, don't mind you guys. I'm enjoying my day outside right now. And there's like I don't want to say an airport. I think there is an airport close by where they have like a lot of jets, so people can watch the jets fly off. So it's actually pretty cool. But all right, guys, let's get into this. Why you are codependent. Oh, before I get into this, beautiful chosen ones. And what I mean by chosen ones, yes, you who choose to do the shadow work, who choose to do the healing, who knows about karma, who knows that they have a purpose on this planet and they choose to listen to that calling. I want you to understand, you have a heart that's very precious, and you are in love with love. And when you know this, you choose to only give that love. And sometimes you could be unaware of how you're using that love, and meaning that you could use it in a way where it's healthy, you can use it in a way where it's toxic. But I want you to understand, chosen one, is that when you start to become aware of the things that your human self is addicted to, just understand this is the test. This is the lessons. This is the gift of learning how to take your power back, and learning how to be the alchemist. And an alchemist is someone who could transmute negativity into positivity. This is what I'm saying. Darkness into light, and bring light into that darkness. So, understand, when you're going through this path of being aware of your bondages, it's very important to understand, to not fear it and to not judge it, but it's all part of the process, and it deserves to be here because it's trying to teach you, to elevate you, so you can remember the power that lies within you. Ooh, let's get it, Bobo. All right. So, the first thing of why you could be codependent on these certain things, and that is codependent to people. This is the very reason why there is a lot of toxic relationships, and the reason why a lot of people are not on their divine purpose is because we're codependent on the people. Now for me, you guys, I was a codependent queen. I'm not even let me not give too much power to that, but I really was, you guys. It was to the point where I wasn't even in relationships with certain people, but I was clinging on to them to the point I felt like I was entitled to their attention. I was entitled to have them text me back and all that shit, Now that I think about it, I kind of I could laugh at myself now because I can understand. But before, the way that I awakened to this is that I used to be so consumed with trying to help people and be there for them that I didn't know how to be by myself, to the point being alone was like a sin for me. It was like, if I'm alone, then, this is the most petrifying thing in my life. And that's when I knew that I was too codependent on people. And not only that, when I started to recognize my ways on how me trying to be nice was a form of trying to manipulate people to see me and validate me. And here's another thing. The way that I started to really understand how codependent I was on people is through my low self-esteem. I'm just like, bitch, why don't I feel confident? And I had to be honest with myself that, low self-esteem comes from you not being confident in who you are and what you can do. And I started to recognize that about myself, that, I really started to blame people, make people feel inferior. I really started to judge people. And you guys, I didn't know. I saw myself doing this, but I wasn't conscious enough to be mature and take a step back and see, is this coming from a projection side of me, or is this coming from a perspective that I'm being observant of? Meaning that, am I projecting my shit onto someone, or is it that I'm expressing how I'm feeling because of someone's actions? You get what I'm saying? There's a huge difference between the two. So the way I have recognized how I'm codependent on people is, how do I feel about myself? Do I love myself the way that I give my love to other people? And that's a big one. When you can recognize that you're giving more than to others than what you give to yourself, then that is a clear sign that you're codependent on people. Now, why you're codependent on people? And here's the reason why. Some of us have grown up in a dynamic where our parents took their love from us, meaning that they weren't there to give us the emotional attention. They emotionally abandoned us, they mentally abandoned us, they spiritually abandoned us. They may have been physically there, but they weren't emotionally there the way that you needed them. Now, another reason why you could be codependent on people is because you don't have your own source of independence, meaning that you don't know what you like, you don't know who you are, you haven't given yourself the time to go within all of that, I don't want to say trauma, but to go within all of that discomfort and to see what is beneath it all. It takes a lot of courage to see parts of yourself that feel inadequate. It really is. It takes a lot of courage. It takes more courage to do that than trying not to make yourself cry. I'm telling you. People who think they're G's and don't cry are the people who need to cry the most. And the people who choose to cry are the people who have the courage to cleanse what is hurting them so they don't implement that pain into the world. You get what I'm saying? So the way to stop being codependent to people, and I know this is tough, is, best way this has helped me is the way I want a counterpart to treat me. Because a lot of us are codependent on relationships because we think relationships are going to fulfill our needs, but it really doesn't. We may think we're over things, but really a different face and a different person doesn't mean that you have healed from the energy. The energy may be the same, but the whole point I'm sharing this with you is because it's important to understand that to stop being codependent on relationships, you got to find your own independent source of being you got to question what makes you not confident in who you are and what you have to offer to this world. What makes you believe that you have too much pain to heal that you think you can't heal from? And another way that has helped me to heal from people, from codependency of people, is by recognizing the importance that I have within myself as well. But all right, you guys, let's get into the second one. The second codependency that a lot of people have on this world is to substances. Can I say that again? The biggest codependency that people have in this world is to substances. Now, like I said, we live in a world full of consumerism. And because this world is full of the mindset of consumerism, you have to understand that everything is teaching us escapism. What happens when we are taught escapism? Through drugs, through sex, through food. It pretty much tells us that when we escape, we don't have to take care of the things that are actually blocking our potential. For me, for instance, I used to be really codependent on LSD, acid, shrooms, weed, even alcohol. It was to the point, you guys, where the last little bit of money I had to pay the bills that I needed to pay, or even for gas to get to work, I would use that to buy alcohol. I'll use that to buy drugs. I'll use that to do things that were not serving me, even to a point of promiscuism. I was even into that too, you guys. But the reason why we become codependent on these certain substances, because it gives us a form of escapism. It gives us the form of having a sense of control over something that we feel gives us power, because we don't have a sense of control over our own body and how we feel on the inside. The reason why, maybe this wasn't a good spot to film. Why are you so loud and so small? Well, I get it, but anywho, as I was saying. So the reason why we could be so consumed by substances and be codependent on them is because, oh no, that's actually what I want to share. Sorry, guys. Yes, the reason why we become codependent on substances is because we were not taught to feel safe within our body. The reason why a majority of us can't be present is because we don't feel safe in our own physical vessel. This is why we're always up in the air. This is why we're always in our mind. So, that is why we become so codependent on substances, because it gives us a sense of control over our body and our reality. Because we feel such discomfort within ourselves that we think we don't have the power to change that discomfort. So we try to find a way to code it rather than deal with it. This is why it's very important to understand why you're codependent on certain substances, because it would teach you about your paradigms that your parents had, meaning that you picked up their inherited habits, or it could really teach you a lot about the pain that you're holding. Like, for example, the reason why people become codependent on drugs is because that high gives us a sense of control. The reason why people are codependent on drinking, because it gives them a sense of enjoyment for life. The reason why people are codependent on food is because it gives them a sense of feeling lovable. I know this sounds weird. And the reason why a lot of us use TV, use electronics, use these things as a form of escapism, because it gives us a sense of feeling like we don't need to focus on things we don't need to focus on. But little do you know, the things that are actually blocking you are the things that are causing the discomfort within you. But they only could be healed by your awareness of them. And that's the big thing. Like I said, a lot of people don't want to be aware of their own bullshit. That's why they deal with it and code it in a toxic manner. So it's important for you to be aware of your codependency on substances, because you're going to be the only one to heal them. You're going to be the only one to change your fucking life. So that's the goal. But alright, guys. What do I want to say about that one? That's what I want to share. So, the way to stop being codependent on substances, like I was saying, is become aware of why you are doing it. Why you're doing it. And be honest with yourself, you guys. I had to be honest with myself, when I was smoking weed like almost every day. It was to the point that I had to smoke before work, I had to smoke when I got out of work, I had to smoke before I go to sleep, all of this. I really had to ask myself, I realized I was peer pressured at the year 12 years old from my cousins to start smoking. And I started to realize it gave me a sense of empowerment. Like, I can be in my imagination and feel a sense of power. You know, another reason why I was so consumed in the concept of sex is because I thought that was a way to get a sense of pleasure, meaning love. We all seek codependency on substances because it gets us closer to that elation feeling that is close to God. But if we don't take care of these and become aware of our substance addictions, all we're going to do is have those hidden subconscious emotions still bother us, and they're only going to trickle out in toxic ways. But until you choose, in the way that I've helped myself stop being addicted to substances, is by choosing to be there for myself. Meaning, like, I chose to be my own friend, my own lover. Meaning that when I was sad, I questioned myself, why am I crying, rather than trying to pick myself up. I allowed myself to say, it's okay not being okay. You know, you got to give yourself permission to say everything you're doing, it's accepted. But what is okay is that you don't feel okay. It's okay to give yourself permission. Because a lot of us want to walk around this world being perfectionists to the point that we think we can't make mistakes, but that is the whole point of being human, is that we're meant to make mistakes, as this is how we learn, this is how we grow, this is how we help ourselves and be able to help other people. So that's another thing, second way that people are codependent. Why you're codependent to substances. Now the last one, this one, you guys, is a powerful one. And this one is codependent to trauma. Oh yes. See, we may think this is how powerful codependency is, because we may think we have our sense of power of our individualism, but really sometimes we're looking at the ego perspective, and we're not looking at the shadow perspective. The ego is, yes, you can consider that the shadow, but sometimes the ego could be delved in as light. Hence, that's why in astrology, the ego is the sun. So you got to be mindful that your ego is actually the sun, and your shadow is actually the conscious part of you, the subconscious part of you that's trying to make the conscious become available and for you to be aware of it. So, you know, that's a big one, codependent to trauma. Now, a lot of us are unaware of our ways. Unless we really desire to become happy, desire real change, then we choose to become aware of these subtle blockages. Very stubborn at that. But codependent to trauma. Now, I'm going to navigate for you guys how you can realize you're codependent to trauma. And that is through blame, victim mentality, lack of accountability, immaturity, ego. This one blew my mind when Spirit gave this to me. Where was I? You're defending the inadequacy of yourself. You're fucking defending the inadequacy of yourself. Let me continue. I'm gonna get back to that one. Trying to fit in, agreeing with other people's opinions, and not taking an authoritative stance over your being. Yeah, not taking a authoritative stance to be the initiator of your overall. Not a good spot. Are you done yet? Never gonna fill him again. I mean, I wanted to give you guys some water, but I'm never filming her again. But yes, so that's a big one I want to talk about. We all have a tendency to be codependent to pain, to be codependent to our stories, to be codependent to trauma. Now, the reason why we're codependent to our trauma is because we have created identity. We have created a story that this is our identity. I went through this pain, so this made me A, B, C, and D. And this is the reason why a lot of people don't choose to change, is because defending their traumas is them defending the inadequacy of what they believe in about themselves. Meaning that the reason why people don't choose to change is because they feel safe in knowing that, you know, me doing this doesn't make me feel worthy. So I'm going to believe in that and stay with that. music so loud. Jeez. Who's that? But yes, you guys. The reason why majority of us are codependent on our traumas is because it gives us a sense of control, a sense of being right. We get the payoff of being right. Yes, this happened to me, and this is why the way that I am, and this is why people treat me this way, and this is why this happens. You're just pointing the finger. You're exuding such low vibrational energy, all because you're codependent on a belief that you think is true. Now, the way to stop being codependent to trauma is first by realizing you could change the story about that trauma. Like for me, for example, sexual trauma is a very, very big thing in this world. But I remember, when I was going through a period of remembering, like my subconscious mind was bringing this to the surface because there's like stubborn energy that was still stuck in my system that I wasn't aware of, that was blocking my elevation. So I started to realize when I went to a Reiki teacher, he helped me relive this moment. And in the process of reliving this, the way that I stopped being codependent on my trauma is that I changed the story. My story before was that I was broken, that there's something wrong with me, and I'm not deserving of people's love. But since becoming aware of this, I changed that story to, you know what, I'm very grateful that this happened to me, because it taught me how to be self-aware, how to love myself, and how to give love to people in a way where they feel seen and worthy rather than feeling broken and unworthy. You get what I'm saying? So I want you guys to understand the way to stop being codependent to your traumas, to your pains, to your story is by one, don't judge it. Be thankful for it. A lot of people in this world defend their pain to the point they complain and gossip and judge and all this shit and put themselves down. But what if I told you the reason why your soul chose those hardships and chose those traumas is because within those experiences held the lesson for your soul to learn to carry out your mission. Bye. I'm gonna say that again. What if I told you the only reason why your soul chose these traumas and these hardships is because within them held the lesson that your soul needed to learn in this lifetime in order to go about your divine mission? And the divine mission doesn't have to be something huge, like you gotta get up on stage and talk to a million people. It could just be about you being a better mother, being a better father, being a better lover, being a better worker, or just being someone who actually does want to live their divine purpose, So the way to stop being codependent to your trauma is first change the story. Change the story of how you see it. Now I start to see it as a gift. Now the second way to stop becoming codependent on trauma, something's telling me to go in this. Why you're codependent on your trauma is because you want people to see you for you and what you've been through and the pain that you hold within inside of you to get a sense of validation, of believing that you are lovable. That's deep. That's very deep. Now the second way that you can stop being codependent on your trauma is first by asking yourself, what makes you think there's something wrong with you? And what makes you not believe that there's nothing wrong with you at all? Those are the two biggest questions I really had to ask myself when I looked in the mirror. What makes me think there's something wrong with me? And what makes me not believe that there's nothing wrong with me? Because like I said, you guys, in the beginning, I've been called a narcissist, and I've been aware of my narcissistic ways. I've been called so many fucking things in the book. And I really allowed this to deteriorate my confidence, to deteriorate me as a person who has so much love to give. I'm just learning how to understand it and remember it, and give it in a healthy way rather than the toxic way. But the way I have stopped being codependent on my trauma is by first realizing everything outside of me has nothing to do with me. Everything that has happened to me has nothing to do with me. Anything that has anything to do with me is by how I show up in the world. How am I choosing to show up? How am I choosing to talk? How am I choosing to stand? How am I choosing to walk? You get what I'm saying? So the way to stop being codependent on your trauma is first by realizing, how are you showing up for you? And what are you making yourself believe in about you? Now, the last way to stop being codependent on your trauma is by first recognizing what makes you believe that everything you went through is actually your story. How you portray it to people. That's the only way you can stop being codependent on your trauma, is by taking the authoritative initiative to say, you know what? Yes, I feel this depression. I feel this pain. I have these thoughts that keep popping up, but I'm going to do the one thing that I know I do best, and that's fight for me. You cannot fuck with the soul that's trying to overcome their trauma. I'm telling you. This is why when you fuck with the chosen one, or you fuck with someone who delves into spirituality, you're going to get your karma tenfold. And it's because these people, you hold a source within you, and that source and that power is that you have the ability to transmute anything and become an alchemist. That's a lot of power a lot of people can't handle. That's why a lot of people don't know how to be alone. In order to be the alchemist of your life, you have to learn to be alone. You have to learn to face your chaos. You got to learn to face your shit. You have to learn to be aware of what it is you're holding on to that's giving you this definition of thinking that you're not worthy of being your own source of happiness. So the way to navigate all of these, you guys, anytime you start to become aware of you being attached to what people think about you, or you going to a place and what people, or you projecting on what you think people are thinking of you, or the way to navigate anytime you feel like you're tempted towards doing certain things, or you're obsessed with certain people, the ways to stop being codependent overall on these three things is by first being aware that you are living in this world, but it does not mean you have to be of it. You live in this world, but you don't have to be of it. You could be a human in this world and still have a good time enjoying people, enjoying these substances in moderation, healing yourself, feeling through this trauma and healing through it. You can still do all these things and not need to suffer, and not need to sabotage good things in your life because of the toxic things that are suppressed within you that are hard to see. You can be a healer, you can be a lover, but you can still got a lot of shit going on inside you that still hurts. But you can still be happy. You can still feel lovable. You can still feel wanted. You can still feel needed. So my beautiful beings, for those of you who feel like you have suffered through codependency, when you go to do this work and navigate through it, please don't judge yourself. Because judgment only prolongs the change that you're trying to make to create your source of happiness that only you can. So do not judge yourself. Judgment comes from, one, it was taught, and two, it only comes from those who are not willing to see how to have compassion for self and for other. So other than that, you beautiful beings, that's what I wanted to share with you today on why you are codependent. And I really hope everything I share with you will help you navigate your own healing, and also to heal your abandonment wounds and also your codependent wounds. And please, lastly, as I share this, your codependency comes from an abandonment wound. Codependency is you relying on things outside of you to give you a sense of fulfillment, because you feel like if you don't have these things, you feel like you will be abandoned in this world. When really, if you let go of these codependencies, you'll learn how to be there for yourself rather than abandon you. So other than that, you beautiful beings, that's all I want to share with you. I really hope this helps. If this did help and if this was insightful, please let me know your feedback in the comment section below. I would love to know what topics you want me to talk about in order to help you on your healing journey. But other than that, you beautiful awakened ones, I love you guys so much. All my business inquiries information is down in the description box below. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and hit that notification button. Until then, you guys, I love you. I'll see you on the next one.